Well, good morning, everybody. Jeff Slakey and Spencer Hughes on the Daybreak Show. Time for us to get a little more information from the Mason County Sheriff's Office during the Sheriff's Sit-Down, presented by our great friends at our Community Credit Union. Chief Deputy Ryan Spurling, Mason County Sheriff Casey Salisbury. Hey, guys, how are you doing?
Morning. Good morning. How are you?
I'm well, thanks, and good to see you both as we move into October here. Ryan, I know you are familiar with the ways that Washingtonians drive on the roadways. You spend a lot of time on the roads. Your time with the Sheriff's Office and your time with State Patrol. It seemed like in March, when we started shutting things down, very few people were out on the roads, and, well, maybe that gave some of those drivers a little bit of the feeling they could maybe go a little faster than they probably should. And now we're back into October. It's dark. More people are back on the roads, but I'm seeing a lot of collisions and things. So where are we at with numbers, and how can we remind folks to take it slow, especially as we move into the fall?
You know, there's probably so many pieces to this pie that it would be hard to nail it down to one thing, but across the United States, law enforcement has seen an increase in not only collisions, but increase in high speeds. I was reading a report just last week where multiple states have had the highest number of 100+ speeding tickets, 100-mile-an-hour plus speeding tickets that they've ever had. So what is going into all this? It could be, like you said, some people got used to when the roads were empty. You know, there were memes out there, hey, if you're coming back to the road, now the new speed limit is 90,
yeah,
and all this other stuff, because they've been in gridlock for so many years, and then all of a sudden it's open, so they all went fast. That may be a factor to it. It could be as well that people are stressed, people are agitated, upset, in a hurry. I don't know, but I know specifically in our county, just in the last 3-4 months, we've had more fatalities than we've had in years before. We average about 1.5. It's weird to say that, but if you average it all out, it's about 1.5 fatalities a month for the last 3 or 4 years. This year, we're already at 7 fatalities. Wow. So this is a big year for fatality collisions. Some of it has to do with our traffic guys. When the COVID first came out, we told them not to stop unless it was pretty egregious because we didn't want the exposure. We still didn't know what we were dealing with. So some people may have gotten used to not having as much enforcement. And then we've been very busy, high call volume this year on the outskirts, such as up at Party Rock and all of the recreational areas. So those traffic guys are not on the county roads. And consequently, just in the last couple months, we've had 2 very, very tragic accidents, both involving very high speeds with fatalities in our county. So we've reassigned the deputies to get back out there and start doing the traffic enforcement, because we know that there's 3 things that influence collisions: engineering, education, and enforcement. So those are the 3 pieces that has always been there for trying to reduce traffic fatalities. Good engineering on the part of Public Works and Department of Transportation, good education, Traffic Safety Commission, and good enforcement, and that's our part. So our guys are getting back out there, kind of doubling their efforts. It's just as the summer surge call volume starts to reduce a little bit, they're going to be hitting the traffic a little more. And just be aware of that.
And it seems too, Casey, over the summer that I hadn't seen as many of the emphasis patrols as well through State Patrol, for example. They would do a lot of these kind of, well, make sure we're going to be out in full force this weekend, or we're going to be out coming up this Labor Day weekend, or things like that. You've grew up in Mason County, and the roads around here, I mean, there's not a lot of long straightaway stretches. There are curvy, tight roads, dark corners,
It's very different. I worked here and both worked in Thurston County, and it was interesting when I left here, I always talk about Mason County ditches. You know, on our rural roads, and there's a lot of reasons. I mean, Ryan talked about these collisions. When you look around our county compared to many, there's not a lot of runoff on the roadway before you're in a 4-foot deep ditch on county roads here. And, you know, you've got a fog line and a ditch, where you've got in other places, you've got quite a wide span from that fog line over to a ditched area, and usually it's paved. Here, there's not a lot of run out in those areas, and our roads are very windy here. And many of them, then when they were engineered back in the day, they engineered them kind of just because of the geography. You know, there was a place, instead of going through something, you went around it. And so there's a lot of, and because of the waterfront, you know, you can't do a lot when the waterfront is the way it is. So it's very curvy roads and things like that around here. And I'd like to see, you know, we've talked about it here about like I don't like these masks because you can't read somebody's facial expressions or whatever it is. But I see in stores where people really go out of their way to say please and thank you and things. I'd like to see people really go out of their way when they're driving to give a little grace to people and to use their best driving technique. And I said, well, I've heard people say, well, I do signal. Well, you don't hit the turn signal at the same time you're moving into the lane. You know, give it a few cycles through before you move over, or slow down and let somebody in. I think about over in our county, heading into Thurston County, where you go to 8 and 101 come together. That whole thing over there is a mess, and people trying to cut people off and things over the years when I worked there. You know, it's just be nice. You know, would really help us, and help yourself too. And yes, sometimes on our roads there's very few areas you can safely pass on our county roads. I mean, very few areas where you don't have a little short straight stretch and a bunch of curves, and people try to get through those things, and there's something coming the other way, and it's just you got to slow down.
Yeah. Well, it is darker earlier, it's darker later, and before too long we're going to be dipping down into the mid-40s, if not lower, during the overnight. So please just be cautious as you're driving out there. Give workers a break when you see them out on the roadways, and give your fellow drivers some space and distance as well. Chief Deputy Spurling, Sheriff Salisbury, good to see you guys.
Thank you.
Good to see you, Jeff.
And the Sheriff Sit Down is presented by our Community Credit Union.